Hey guys and girls, I've been to the London Gaming Market. So the London Gaming Market made its return to the Royal National Hotel on the 11th of July, just a few days ago, and I think it's fair to say that it's been somewhat of a success. It wasn't as busy as previous gaming markets, and there weren't as many stalls this time around. Obviously because of recent events around the world in this country, and yeah. So, but for what it was, I think it went pretty well, and yeah, picked up quite a few interesting items. Spent a little bit of money, but luckily for each item, I didn't spend more than what I had to. So I looked for the bargains, I looked for reasonable prices, didn't pay over the odds for anything stupid. So yeah, normally what I like to do when I go to the gaming market is I like to have a walk around one time around every stall, compare prices, and see what's on offer and what have you, see what good deals there are. And I don't often buy something from a stall that I've come to first. I have a little look around and what have you, but I saw one stall there that it was selling pretty much like junk items, stuff that probably no one in their right mind would ever want anymore nowadays, or they're just looking to get rid of bits and pieces. So yeah, I suppose you could say it's a bric-a-brac stall, or a flea stall, or whatever you'd like to call it. So I had a little rife around, and they were doing a deal. It was like each item was like £4 each, or you could get 3 for £10. So I had a little look around, and I managed to find like 6 items from this stall, and I was like, you know what, half of this stuff, is pretty useful, but am I going to use it in like regular day-to-day gaming or anything like that? Is it something I really want? But for the most part, it was actually, some of it was pretty good. So let's just go through what I got from this store. The first one is this Super Famicom pad. Now I don't know if I can get it to focus properly, but this Famicom pad, there we go, is actually quite dirty. But I thought to myself, clean it up a little bit. I could always do with a spare Super Famicom pad, because I've got 3 SNES controllers, right? One is an actual Super Nintendo controller, another one is a Super Famicom controller, and the third one is a Super Competition Pro. It may just be Competition Pro third party pad, but it's a bit broken. It still works, it's just the shell around this part is broken off, so it's a little uncomfortable to hold. And I thought to myself, a spare or additional Super Nintendo controller, yeah, that's actually quite useful. And next up is this DVD remote control for the PlayStation 2. Now I do have a DVD remote control for the PlayStation 3, however I found that the PS2, I rather like just playing DVDs off of it, because it's a straightforward machine to play DVDs off of, and insert your disc, press start on the dashboard, and away you go. There's no faffing about with anything like that. And I generally prefer to watch DVDs on a CRT anyway, because let's be honest, those type of televisions are what DVDs were designed for. You play a DVD on the on a HD TV, and you can see all the little artifacting and what have you, and some of the, like, just how not crystal clear it is on HD TV compared to CRT. In fact, I remember back in the day, DVD quality to me was just like live TV quality. It was actually like watching it on live TV, and so I think that quality is better displayed on a CRT rather than a HD TV. So yeah, I got the remote control. It's a little dusty, but again, I can just clean that up, and I'd much rather control a DVD film with a remote control as opposed to the DualShock. It's a perfectly fine, DVD remote is the PlayStation controller, but obviously you want a proper remote control. Right, next up is an N64 game. This is just the cartridge itself, and I saw it and I thought to myself, wow, really? I'm pretty certain this still goes for, like, perhaps not a lot of money, but perhaps a little bit of cash, and that is Yoshi's Story for the N64. I was just looking at it, I was like, wow, really? Honestly, I cannot get over the fact that this was on a bric-a-brac junk stall. I was just like, oh, okay then, because I'm currently going through Yoshi's Story at the moment on the Super Nintendo Switch app, and I was kind of looking for a copy, hopefully of my own, just to have, so I can just like not needlessly having to play it on the well, I say needlessly, so I don't have to play it on the Switch app anymore, because I know that once the Switch online feature that goes away, those games go with it. So I kind of want my obviously own physical copy. And spoiler alert, I didn't find it at the gaming market. It was quite surprising. I didn't find it anywhere at all. Yet I found about 3 copies at the last gaming market. Should have picked them up at the time now. I think they were only 20 quid each. But anyway, I digress. Yeah. Yoshi's Story for the N64, something that I was quite surprised was in amongst the 4 for £10, 3 for £10 junk stall. Right, so those are my first 3 items, and I still had a little look around, and I was like, ooh, what's this game? This is Superstar Pro Wrestling for the, I was about to say Super Famicom, for the Famicom. And it was only up until about, a few hours ago, before the filming of this video, that I decided to have a look at what this game actually is, and it looks rather interesting. I mean, the cover art alone, that pretty much got my interest, and I don't think you can see it well on video, but it is a very pink cartridge. So, I mean, I think that initially just stuck out to me when I first, because I was just going through all the bits and pieces, and I saw this pink Famicom cartridge. I picked it up. It was like Superstar Pro Wrestling. I was like, oh, okay, I'll give it a go. Why not? For sure. Be a laugh if nothing else. Excuse me. Right. Next up. This is an item that was brought to my attention by Larry Bundy Jr. I can't remember which video it was. I'll probably stick a card up there. Actually, are they called cards? I can never remember. But anyway, yeah, this is the Action Replay CDX demo disc. Now, if I remember right, the story goes that Daytel, was it Daytel? Yeah, Daytel. They partnered with Dreamcast magazine DC UK to create this demo disc for the up-and-coming Action Replay for the Dreamcast. And yeah, it turns out that Daytel obviously had to do a bit of tinkering with the Dreamcast security system in order to bypass it so that this thing could play, and it turns out they discovered how you could play pirated games on the Dreamcast. So yeah, and as a result, people were buying this and they were reselling them, and this still goes for plenty of cash on eBay. So to get it as part of a 3 for £10 deal, I wasn't gonna say no way, and it actually works as well, so that's pretty good. Right, last of all, this is an item I kind of mentioned back in my I Can Remember Tekken video, and it is an NTSC to PAL converter. Now, technically speaking, I don't really need this because, you know, because it's primarily for PlayStation 1, and I have a PAL PlayStation 1 and an NTSC PlayStation 1, so for all intents and purposes, this was moot already. But I thought to myself, you know, there is a game that I like to play on the PAL PlayStation, and that's Mickey's Wild Adventure, and because I only like to play it because there's an Action Replay code out there which converts it from 50Hz to 60Hz, which makes the game actually why I like to play it. If you play Mickey's Wild Adventure normally, it's a 50Hz slogfest, and I just don't enjoy playing it. So yeah, 60Hz, a-okay. However, because if I remember rightly, that is technically outputting a NTSC signal or something along those lines, it plays in black and white on my PAL console. Now, I have actually attempted to do it on my Japanese console, but it doesn't play the soundtrack so well, and at some point later on down the line, the game will just crash. I don't know why it does it on the Japanese version, but it does. So technically, that is why I have the NTSC to PAL converter. In fact, I'd like to show you guys how this works, because it's really interesting. So, picture the scenario, right? It's the mid 1990s, you got yourself your PlayStation, you have a fairly middle of the road TV, and you want to start getting into import games. So, you buy the hottest and freshest new title, in this instance, Gun Bullet, the Japanese version of Point Blank, and you want to boot that up, and you have your way of playing import games on your PlayStation. So, you just boot up your machine, you pop in your demo disc, you set the disc to spin because your PlayStation is magical like that. Right, now the PlayStation thinks there's a PAL disc in there, so you take out your PAL disc, you pop in your import, jobs are good, and you press start, and now you're just waiting for your game to load, and you're really all excited about it. You're just like, yes, I'm gonna get to a brand new world of import gaming. I'm gonna get the freshest games way before anybody else in the market. And your game loads up, and it's like, yes, here we go, and you get a black and white image. So what can we do about this? You've got two options. The first option would be to, well, buy a brand new TV, because as it turns out, a PAL PlayStation will not output an NTSC signal in colour without a SCART cable. So you need a brand new TV with a SCART socket. But new TVs are expensive, so what's a cheaper option? Obviously, an NTSC to PAL converter. So what you do in this instance, you get your converter, you plug it into the back of your PlayStation, or in this case, into the Namco Time Crisis, light gun attachment thingamabob, and you get your component cable, or rather your composite cable, excuse me, and you plug it into the video out on the, and there you go. You can now play your import games in colour. Now, the only trouble with NTSC to PAL converters is they have a tendency to overheat, and they will eventually burn out, and you'll be back to square one again. Like what happened with me one time when I had a rather cheap NTSC to PAL converter. And the interesting thing about this is not only does it work on PAL PlayStations like it's advertised to do, but it actually works on Japanese machines as well. I decided to give this a little experiment, and I thought to myself, you know what, if I'm for some reason going to be playing, a PAL disc on my NTSC machine for some bizarre reason, well, I'm going to want to be able to play it in colour, right? So obviously, same situation, you want to plug in your PlayStation, hook it up to your TV, all nice and nice. Now we can actually see an immediate effect of this straight away. Now if you remember from the original screen, this bar should be red. This is what happens when an NTSC machine outputs a PAL signal. It's a little bit more lenient with the colours, but it doesn't. For some reason, it doesn't show red. I'm not sure of the technical explanation for this, but that is what happens. So, same situation again. We load up our Japanese disc because that's what our Japanese machine wants to read, and we got ourselves Point Blank, the PAL version, obviously of Gun Bullet, and yeah, we just we load that in. We press start, and we wait for it to load. Same situation. I suppose if back in the day, you had yourself an import PlayStation, and as you can see, right, I don't know, it doesn't really come too well on the screen, but this is actually meant to be like brilliant blue, but it's actually quite a really dirty blue, and as you can see here, the flags aren't quite represented correctly in their respective colours. So let's just press start on Great Britain and what have you. So yeah, if you actually had an NTSC machine, and that was the only PlayStation you had, and you wanted to get into PAL gaming at the time, or rather you wanted to buy PAL games from obviously your relevant region, then obviously this would be a solution for you as well. So yeah, same deal, you plug your NTSC to PAL converter into the PlayStation, and your composites into the NTSC converter, and there we go. So it was a nice colour image from a nice colour PAL image from the NTSC machine. So you could say, it's fair to say, this is more of a signal converter rather than a straightforward NTSC to PAL converter. So yeah, that's pretty much the converter in action. Back to the pickup video. Okay, so that was That was the video for the NTSC power converter, or just quite simply signal converter, seeing as how it does work backwards and forwards. It's amazing. Right, next up are a few games that I bought from Console Passion. I do like their store. They have some reasonably priced games, I reckon. So yeah, the first game I got here is Spy vs Spy. I love the Spy vs Spy games. I love the Spy vs Spy comic strip from Man Magazine, and I do like the Spy vs Spy animated shorts that were on Mad TV a little while ago. It's fair to say that I like Spy vs Spy. So to see a Famicom version of Spy vs Spy, how many times can I say Spy vs Spy? So I was like, yeah, I'm gonna get a hold of this. One thing that I noticed pretty much straight away is on the lamppost where the street signs are. I don't know how clear this is going to be on the camera, but originally that was meant to say Joke Street Dagger Road or something along those lines. I'll probably correct myself in post editing, but on here it says it says Chemco, and I think that's Nintendo Inc. or something along those lines. Anyway, in fact, yeah, I can just about make it out. It says Nintendo. So yeah, they actually altered the road signs for anybody who cares to notice. So yeah, I haven't played this version yet, but I can't imagine it's going to be any different to any of the other versions of the original Spy vs Spy. Alright, so that's that. Next up, we've got Championship Load Runner. Now, originally, I thought this was just ordinary Load Runner, the first Load Runner, but it turns out this is a sort of pseudo sequel, and it was created using levels that were taken from the level editor in the original Load Runner. And as a result, these levels are actually a lot more difficult this time round. I didn't really get too much into Load Runner at all until I played a demo of Load Runner, or at least the newest Load Runner on the Switch. And I was just like, okay, yeah, Load Runner does seem like a lot of fun. I might buy them a Load Runner for Switch at some point. Excuse me. But until then, I can be content with Championship Load Runner on the Famicom. Right, next up is a pair of games that to say that I've been looking for these is somewhat not correct. Incorrect, there we go. But I saw them, I thought to myself, you know what, they're reasonably priced for what they are. Perhaps £1 or two more than I'd care to spend, but I've spent more on other games anyway. So the first game is Croc Pow Pow Island, which as we know as Legend of the Gobos. So yeah, I've already got this on the Sega Saturn, but it's the PAL version. And playing it on my modified Japanese Sega Saturn, it has that hilarious glitch where if you load it from the Saturn CD player menu, Croc's head disappears. And I think loading it from the Pro Action Replay that I've got in the Saturn, I think that emulates loading from that part of the Saturn. So yeah, Croc's head hilariously disappears. So to have it on the PlayStation 1, where that glitch is probably not likely to happen, is pretty cool. I mean, at the end of the day, it's Croc Legends of the Gobos. I don't think there's going to be much of a language barrier here. So yeah, that's that. The second game, you guys probably gathered that already. It's Croc Adventure, aka Croc 2. I don't know if Croc 2 has a subtitle like Legend of the Gobos. I'll again most likely correct myself in post editing, but yeah, I've not actually played Croc 2 before, or at least I don't think I have. I don't recall any memory of playing it whatsoever, so don't expect to see a I can remember a Croc 2 episode anytime within the next 20 years. But you know, I thought to myself, Croc 1, it'd be rude not to buy Croc 2. I mean, I did have to do a quick Google search to find out if these were unique Croc games that were released in Japan, but no, it turns out they're just Croc 1 and 2, which is fine with me, so I'm okay with it. So that's what I got from Console Passion. Always a delight to buy from those guys. And lastly, a trio of games that I just bought from other stalls. This one I saw on the, I think it's the 3DS Virtual Console, but I decided to buy this anyway because I haven't bought it on the 3D Virtual Console anyway. And that is Shinobi for the Game Gear. Now, I'm perfectly alright with having loose Game Gear games because I do have a Game Gear carry case, and I think it's got about 6-7 games in it at the minute. So yeah, this will slot very nicely into the carry case. And I remember seeing a preview video for... Sorry about that, I was just checking my camera battery, so I may need to wrap this up pretty quickly. I remember seeing a preview video for the, I think it's the GG Shinobi, but yeah, it looks like a lot of fun, so I thought I'd pick that up. Right, next up is Virtua Fighter Kids. Technically, I have been kind of after this for a little while, but I was more than willing to let it pass me by if I couldn't ever find a copy. But yeah, I do like Virtua Fighter, and I can't remember if I've ever played Virtua Fighter before. I'd like to think I have. Excuse me, Virtua Fighter Kids before. Yeah, I like to think I have, but I don't doubt for a second this is probably going to be a blast to play. It seems to have... I don't think it's got much of a language barrier, actually, thinking about it. I'm just looking at a particular screenshot just there. It looks like it's quite heavy in Japanese, but it actually doesn't look that bad. So, right, finally, this is a game I'm quite surprised I got it as cheap as it was, and it's the PAL version as well, which I expected to be more expensive. That's Millennium Soldier Expendable. This actually cost me £10, and I would have expected the Japanese version to be about, what, £8, £9, a little bit cheaper than the PAL version, but it turns out that it's just called Expendable, it's more than the PAL version. In fact, I saw a copy of it, I think it was on Console Fashion actually, it was like 16 quid. I was like, I'm kind of glad I bought the PAL version, and I've played the demo of this God knows how many times, so to have the full version, that's actually quite neat as far as I'm concerned. So yeah, guys, unfortunately that's that's about all I got time for, because my camera's battery is signaling that it wants to run out at some point soon. So yeah, thank you all very much for watching, and until then, take care of yourselves. Bye bye. So, the London gaming market happened this last Thursday. No, it wasn't Thursday. What the fuck am I on? On the 11th of July. And it was it was one of those. The London gaming market made its return on the thing, you know, that thing, to the Royal National Hotel on the July, yes, because we say the time like that. So, the Royal London... So, the, you know, the thing, you know, that thing that just happened.